The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast. I'm Matt Martelli. I'm here with my brother from another father or mother. I'm not even sure at this point. We've said it too many times, right?
We're getting really loose with the term.
Yeah. And we're here with Keegan Kincaid at the Big House in Crandon.
Yes. This is my other brother from another, so it's like...
There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how to explain it, but...
We're just all one big off-road family here.
Yeah.
So.
But we're here at Crandon. You're going to hear some noise in the background. They're practicing right now, but that was fun last night, man.
Yeah. So, it was a blast, literally.
Yeah. Right?
So, Northwoods Firearms, he's a good buddy. He actually races pro buggy. I talked him into coming to do some racing. And, we just said, hey, how do we get some people together and a Wisconsin thing? We like to blow stuff up and shoot guns. And
drink beer.
Yeah. And barbecue. I like the pitch to me is like, hey, man, we're going to have a party with barbecue, guns, and alcohol. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was
like, is this my party for me?
And it was good. I know a lot of people don't get the privilege, I guess, that we do. We can go do this every night. We'll go around on a Monday night and have some fun and shoot some guns and sight some stuff. And it's expensive, but it was good. So I wanted to provide an opportunity, basically a platform for whether it's drivers or sponsors to create some cool content, something different, and just have a good night.
Something more explosive.
Yeah. Then, I guess what can be more explosive than racing? I guess we did it.
Yeah. Tannerite.
Yeah. And so it was cool.
With propane and gasoline mixed in.
Yeah. Jimmy Henderson said, "Man, I don't even think I'm gonna be nervous in the race truck anymore after what we did last night." And so it was good. We had a lot of fun. Everybody has all their fingers, and now we get to have a good, fun weekend.
No
of
limbs
racing.
were lost last night.
Well, that's one of the things I love about Crandon is it's not just the race. It's everybody hanging out together. Just a rad atmosphere, having drinks together, having brats.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was telling the guys that are with me, I'm like, we're gonna have brats, we're gonna have perch. We're gonna have cheese curds, we're gonna have Leinenkrugels, right?
Some spotted cow.
There you go. Yep. No, it's all good, man.
Yeah, this is my everyday, so it's like. It's like, what's different? Bush Light or whatever. Everybody's got the same stuff around here. But, yeah, we'll eat brats probably once a week. I think, actually, my wife's probably cooking some for lunch.
I'll be at your pit.
No, I will say, dude.
Some beer brats.
Yeah.
If you want good food, like some of the best food in the pits is Keegan Kincaid's setup.
Only when my wife's there. Yeah.
No, when his wife's around, about 5:30, 6 o'clock, you definitely need to drift by his hospitality area because there's some bomb food.
And we're open to everybody. That was one thing. That's what's cool about, the off-road community is, everybody comes into everybody's pit, hangs out, has a good time, especially sponsors and, even the security guards. I'm like, hey, if you need some food, some water, you come on over here. And maybe they'll let me bring a water in here or something.
The funny thing is, Keegan and I, we got connected about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, something like that, maybe longer than that with radio and stuff like that. But it's our lives are complete parallels. I grew up in Parker with a dad that raced who, Parker's a very small town. People in the Southwest off-road, Parker's one of the off-road capitals of, the country.
Yep.
Small town. My dad raced. I grew up in it from the time I was 1, just at the track. Yeah. It's all I did was eat, sleep, breathe, want to be an off-road racer, small town, the whole thing. And it's one of the most iconic off-road races, desert races in the world. And then you've got Keegan, who grew up in Crandon with a dad that was a legend and, grew up, eat, sleep, breathe this stuff, small town. He and I have literally life parallels. So it's he and I have been able to connect because he's I'm the off-road version of him or he's the short course version of me. It's this weird parallel, but it's when you understand the Kincaids and how Crandon is just embedded into their family and what they do, it's actually pretty rad.
But it's... No, it totally is. But what's interesting about Crandon, I have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But is how much knowledge is here, in regards to short course racing. Like, it's one thing to have a track and, have a dad that races, but like you guys build your own stuff. Like, like it's just crazy to me to think about the idea that like some of the most advanced off-road vehicles in the world are built right here.
Yeah, it's crazy, and not just my family, my dad and myself, but like Keith Stamper, who's been in the off-road industry for a while, Rena Vodis, like there's multiple people from just Crandon, a town of like 1,800 people, that their livelihood basically relies on this, and so that's cool. You know what I mean? Like Jim said, I was born and raised here. I don't know anything different. Like, racing is all I know. I do it for a living now. I'm grateful for that. My dad was able to do it for a living. And what a better opportunity, like Crandon. Like, I'm here. I live here. Like, most people are excited to come here or rarely get a chance to come here and see it. And maybe it's not as and what's crazy is, like, when you were talking about, I still get goosebumps thinking about Crandon, you know what I mean? And the event around it. And we set up the big awning for it, and we have fans and friends, family. I have all my family that comes and hangs out. It's awesome. Like, there's nothing like it in the world, I don't think, to be able to live in the town. I see it every day. I see all these guys that work on the track. I see Cliff every single day. There's not very many places to eat around here, so usually you meet up at lunch and you get to talk a little bit, and and you know what it's usually about, racing.
But what was that like growing up? With your dad being the legend that he is. But like, was it automatically like, hey, dude, you're racing?
Yeah, no. My dad was pretty, free to what I wanted to do. And so I was huge into sports. I'm 6'5". I loved basketball, played a little college ball. And he really just he said, you can race when you want. And obviously, the 4-cylinder days were pretty expensive. And when he was racing with TRD and Johnny, and so he knew it would cost him a little bit to get me invested. Well, the year they went V8 racing in Pro Light, he said, hey, do you want to build a truck? And I said, yeah, let's do it. And so we built our first truck, and it was 2011. I raced it just sparingly. Mike Jenkins was helping us out with Traxxas. Well, I did well a couple races, and Mike came on board. Like, Traxxas helped me out. He basically started my career for me and allowed me to do it for a living. Yeah. We worked some unique deals, and it was awesome. Like, and it just took off from there. I won a championship. I started racing in 2000. I was 21 years old, so started racing in 2011. Won a championship in 2013. So. But I've watched. I'm a visual learner. I've watched racing. I remember sitting on the hill launching water balloons into the Parsons Pond that was down here in the bottom. T-shirt man riding wheelies. Like, I came from there, and so I'm a fan just as much as I am a racer. Like, when I'm here now, I'm racing. I feel like I'm one of them still on the hill, but I'm just in a different seat. Sometimes I'm bummed. Like, if I win a race and it's a good race, I ask my dad, was that a good race to watch? I hope so. Like, that was fun. Like, it was fun in here, but I can only imagine what it looked like out there. But yeah, I love it. I love being here. Like I said, I've never missed a race here. This is I'm 33, so this is my 33 years in a row that I've never missed a fall Crandon. Like, whether it was football or whatever, it might have been a Friday night that I was playing right over there, just right around the corner. You could actually see the lights lit up. We probably will on Friday night. They'll be playing a game over there, but that was me. And we came out here, stayed out here. I got my camper here. I only live 4 miles from here, and I still want to be here and camp and be behind the pit. So
yeah, that's rad.
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, it had to be cool. I mean, again, like, having your dad's knowledge too of, like, you it wasn't like you just came from outer space and started trying this. You were kind of shooed in a little bit, right?
Yeah, and obviously it helps. I had my dad, Jeff Kincaid, behind me, building a Pro Light, and so obviously without him, like, none of this would be possible. Like, he's given me so much knowledge and learning on the track and tips and tricks that nobody else gets, and so obviously it was accelerated. So that was awesome. You know what I mean? I'm not just a normal guy that went and bought a Pro Light and learned on our own. We had, years. My dad's been racing since '89. And it was almost all Pro Light. He's raced Pro Light for so long. So that was a huge learning experience, like, quick, like, caught up to speed. Like, we were right there in times. And so we were nowhere close. But Yeah, he's continued to do it. Like, he's been here since '89, like coming to Crandon. He's never missed events, probably before then. And so it's crazy to even see him in the pits now. And he's got to see a lot of off-road in his time. Like, it's crazy to think that. I feel like I've been here for a long time. I've been here for 10, 12 years, involved really.
Right.
But like I said, without him, like, I don't know if without him here and family here, and I get to bring my kids and my family, and that's what I was when I was their age, is like traveling to the races. Like, we didn't go on vacation. Hey, our vacations were races. And so, like, hey, we're going down here, hop in the toter home. We're going here. I remember that. I remember playing cars with Mikey Vandenhoevel down the back of the toter home deck. And so that's what's cool. And I want my family to remember that. If I couldn't have my family here, I probably wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
It's definitely a full-time dedication to off-road and racing, and we're in it. And so,
well, and one of the things that I love about this off-road in general, but also Crandon and short course in particular, is like, there are a lot of big money teams that came back here and you beat them,
Yeah.
and so it's still a sport where, the local boy can be a champion, right?
Yeah.
And that, part of that is that knowledge transfer. And, being somebody who's from the Midwest and then, got plopped down into El Cajon, thank God, in the 80s, like, there's so many shops and so much knowledge base there that I remember, my first few times coming back here. Actually, the LeDukes brought me here the first time.
Yeah.
Slept on the floor in between Kyle and Todd in that motel right there.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean I don't have a bed? It's like, okay.
there's no hotels here?
Yeah, it's a motel. And there was it was like, we called it the coffin, because when you sleep in it, it's like you wake up and it feels like you're in a coffin. But it was awesome, and I remember that was the era of, Renazenter, and some of the other big, the Herps were in it. They were spending a lot of money. And there were quite a few other highly sponsored teams, right? But, your dad and Johnny Greaves and some of the other, Scott Taylor, some of the other guys were like sticking it to them, And there was a little bit of the home field advantage.
Yeah.
But it was also like they got their practice in. And again, it's a cool kind of balance, because we have a lot of hype right now because of F1, and I think F1 is really cool, but it's like there's no way some kid from the local town that they're racing in is going to put together a race program and come do battle with those guys. And I think that's one of the things that's magical about that.
So Mitch, why is this bike so drippy?
It's our 23 race bike. We can start up front, work our way to the back. Bones can tell you about the suspension.
The rear shock is one of the most critical parts of the bike.
Pegs with the titanium mounts.
Kashima coating here.
Anti-gravity lightweight battery.
Young's Modulus.
Horse and a half.
Works Chassis Lab.
More tie than a space shuttle.
Really? I might need that repeated.
This thing slaps.
Slaps.
Oh, you should have told me that earlier.
Yeah, and so, like, in the winter, it's just me and my dad. Like, I think that without people knowing that, like, people think that we got a crew. Well, I hire some weekend help, and most of the time they're my buddies. And so it's my dad and I basically working on them and building trucks in the winter. My dad mostly, that guy would live in the shop, and his shop's like walking distance. He can literally walk out the door, walk to the shop, and my mom's almost got to kick him out of there sometimes. And to be honest, I don't even know if he would come here if he could be at the shop and just work and tinker around and building and fabricating. He's more of a fabricator at heart now than anything. He loves to innovate, and we'd never built the same truck twice. And so it's always been, hey, we'll sell this one. We got a new idea, and work from there. And it's a lot of experience into it. It's more of like trial and error. Like, oh, that didn't work. All right, let's cut it apart and do it again. And I relate to like Kyle LeDuc and Johnny, and same way, CJ talking about doing a truck. Well, they always go back to what works. And so,
and I think that one of the cool things getting to know Keegan, like, is you pretty much at one point we're building a new truck every single year. And a lot of people go, Keegan, why don't you stick with the same truck? And it's one of those, like, you talk to him, and he's got some sponsors and things like that, but they're fabricators at heart. Like, at the end of the year, he had to flip the truck to make money so they could, and then build another truck. And at the end of the year, you were flipping the trucks to be able to stay in business and make it through the wintertime to go racing the next year. And it's like, people think oh, he's got sponsors, he's on TV, there's all this money. Like, no, they like very like, you know what I mean? You guys were hustling to make ends meet, you know what I mean? To keep the program going and keep, roofs over your head and everything else.
Yeah. And that's the reality of it is like off seasons, like, all right, you want a little bit extra money to spend and we can put it towards a new truck. So yeah, we would flip them, especially if you're doing well, you know what I mean? Like that's the only value you have in Pro Tour race trucks is, you're doing well, you have some value, what wins on Sunday sells on Monday basically applies to the race truck as well. But yeah, and that's what we've been doing is we can cut costs. We have no labor costs besides our own. And so, we build in the off season. Hopefully we'll sell a truck. I don't think I'm gonna sell it this year. I got a different plan. We got a 31 Model A that we're gonna build out. We have we want to put about 1,100 horse in a twin turbo, just our own custom off, and just a little burnout car. We can go to more events around here and have fun and take it out and do some cool things. So
knowing what your dad did with Walker Evans, the Walker Evans build, I'm like, his dad like mastermind, so he's probably more stoked on that than building a Pro 2 right now.
Like with race trucks, you got like perimeters, like all right, here's your rule book, and he's like, all right, we'll work around what we can. Well, with this, it's like you're free, do whatever you want. Wild. Like you want to do something cool, and so that's the plan is like, and we can do it affordable. Like racing, when you put racing behind stuff, like people don't understand, it's like the cost doubles instantly. I don't care whether you're racing spec or price goes up quick. But with this, it's like I can build something with 1,100 horse for a quarter of the price I can with my race truck. So it's fun. It'll be cool, mess around with, and do some different things. Like I get to race all the time, and people are like, "Oh, that's cool," but I want a burnout car. I want to do some fun stuff like, hey, buddy, hop in. Like, we don't have passenger seats. And so hop in the car. We're
your
going to do
kids
some
will
burnout.
probably love this.
Yeah. Feel some horsepower and have some fun with it. So
what, in doing this, obviously you paid your dues moving up from, the Pro Light all the way up, right? So for you, what was the point where you're like, okay, like I could do this. I can make a living doing this. I can compete at the highest level. I can be a champion. I mean, we're sitting in this barn, and there's quite a few photos of your dad.
Yeah.
And what was that point?
Yeah, I think one moment sticks in my head. It was like Chicagoland, 2012, and we R.J. Anderson came and raced. He was with South Point and had some stuff, and I remember I didn't have a big budget or nothing. Then we didn't even have a sponsor. Like we went there I threw Traxxas on it just because my dad was racing for him, and we had fun. And I was racing first and second gear because I didn't even have a trans in the Pro Light. And we went out and took second, and I was just like, all right, maybe we can do this. And then 2013 we won the championship. And my dad's always his biggest regret was like staying in Pro Light. And obviously you go where sponsors want you, and they wanted to push him to stay in Pro Light, and that was one of his biggest regrets is like, I should have moved up way earlier. And so as soon as we had the opportunity, what happened to that opportunity was we were in Sturgis. 2015 was Sturgis year, and my dad hurt his back. He endoed in practice, and Mike Jenkins had a Pro 2, and he's like, well, let's put Keegan in it, get your points in it. Well, the first race I went out, I was leading and got a flat tire. The second race I went out and won, and Mike Jenkins said, hey, you're going to have a Pro 2 next year. I'm paying for you to be in Pro 2. And so it just kind of kept going up. Well, 2017, we ended up racing Pro 4, which, awesome. They're the most badass vehicles in the world, but not to pay for.
No.
So, and the value just wasn't there. For me doing it for a living, Pro 2 is more feasible. Obviously, the competition, we got 25 here at Crandon. The competition has been over the top. Obviously, you got CJ and Johnny and them in Pro 4. And when Kyle was here, it was some cool stuff. But it was like, all right, I got to step back. If I'm going to keep doing this for a living, it's still extremely competitive. It actually slowed down the Pro 2 for me, like slowed everything down. It made it easier to drive. And so I had a lot of fun. Won a couple championships, and we just keep each year just knocking out Pro 2 stuff and continue to do that until we have an opportunity. Obviously, if an opportunity came up, I'd love to do Pro 4, but the reality of it is it's expensive. And until we figure that out, or the exposure side of it, if we can have value in it and go from there. So
Well, I mean, we're here at Crandon, and the car count is good. You know, the excitement is good. It's sold out. You know, that's one of the things I love about not just Crandon, but just the people from the Midwest. Like, they don't care. You know, they don't care who's president and who's crying about what. They're like, look, you know, like, I worked my ass off all year. It's Labor Day. We're going to Crandon. We're going to have a good time with the family. So that's awesome. And I think it's on a, you know, I know from the desert side, we definitely have a lot of momentum. I think it's back on an upswing, you know. So, you know, I hope to see you in that Pro 4. I hope to see you in the trophy truck too. Like, no pressure, but you know,
we're working on getting Keegan to the desert.
I went to San Felipe for the first time this last year, like to a desert race, and I was like, it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money. So, especially watching like Bryce and those guys.
Oh yeah.
The pre-run, it'll be fun. I know
Bryce is setting new records.
Yeah,
and everything, and it's cool, man. Like, I really appreciate him, and especially I love his dad. You know, when people come and spend money in our sport and our culture, I appreciate it, because they could be going and doing, you know, doing that and whatever, boating, golf, you know, pick a thing. And they're doing it here, so I appreciate that. But yeah, what'd you think of San Felipe?
Oh, it was awesome. You know, Todd's always told me about from Vision, and we're like, hey, let's get you down here. And we took one of my media guys, Tito, with us, and just experienced it, like sucked it all in. It was funny because Christopher, like, we were gonna, for Rob Mack, we were just gonna do him some split times with the 250 being a loop. You can jump from spot to spot. Well, then Rob broke. Well, we just ended up heading towards the finish. Well, Christopher was there, Pavorti, and that was when he ran out of gas down at San Felipe.
Yeah.
Well, we seen him pass. He was going to win, and it wasn't 300 feet from us. We couldn't see him. He disappeared in the desert. Well, the bird was flying over top, and I was like, I think there's something wrong with him. We should just go check and see if we can help. Well, we headed over there that way, and all of a sudden, Christopher calls on the phone to Todd. He's like, hey, do you guys got gas? He's like, we saw the Vision truck. Like, out of all the places, like, we happen to be right there. And it's just cool. Like, circumstance in the desert is awesome. Like, you know, short course is cool. I love short course. Desert, I think, is more about against yourself. Like, it's a little different mental game. I like to think I'm mentally strong. I love, like, that side of things as far as racing and short course. I've never been like the hothead in the car, or like if things got to me, it's always been like, let it come to you. But I think I'd do well in the desert. I think my style, I'm excited. Hopefully there's some opportunity eventually to go out and race it. Even if it's in a UTV to start, I'm all for that. I know there's been some conversations, but obviously the trophy truck would be something unbelievable.
It's, you know, when you go back in the history of, you know, in particular in this track and Flannery, you know, I mean, back in the day it was an 8 truck, and, you know, before they were specific vehicles, and they would, you know, Jack would load up and, you know, drive to the Mint and race his truck, or load up and go race in Baja. So it was more connected. And I think that's an important thing with our culture, is to recognize that, and especially from our side in the desert. And that's why we make an effort to, you know, come out here and invite people to the desert, and vice versa. You know, I think there's a lot of guys that raced on the West Coast that haven't been to Crandon. They should definitely get out here and see what's here, because there's a lot. You know, it's got a lot of value. And like I said, I think a lot of people don't know that, like, you know, like you said, the mind share of car builders that's here, right? That's changed the evolution of off-road, you know, for the better. I mean, you look back at the history and you go, okay, cool, this started with Mickey Thompson. And then after Mickey was killed, it fell apart, and some guys went NAS truck racing. And then, but here, you know, it kept going, and it turned into soda, and they took those small trucks and they made them bigger. And it's cool, because your dad was part of that evolution. And now you look at these vehicles, and like you were saying, dude, a Pro 4. I mean, a Pro 2 and a Pro 4, but a Pro 4 in particular, there's nothing like that vehicle in the world. You know, I'd say the closest thing would be a rally car, right?
Yeah, and I got to drive one, like a rally car too, and it's still, like, they're a little more fragile. Well, you know what I mean? 100%. There's nothing like you can do, like, with a Pro 4, with just backing it in and rolling
sideways
over
jumps
and
that's what I say, you know. And it's like, you watch when you have a full field of Pro 4s going into turn 1 here, and to see the dance where they're all side by side, and you look at how fast they're going into turn 1, and you're like, there's no way they're going to make this turn. But the amount of traction
Yeah.
and everything else, the way they hook up, you look at it and there's no way this is possible. The physics don't work.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? They're just amazing the way those things just hook up and go. And I'm like, there's nothing else in the world you could hit that speed going into that corner and still make it stick.
Yeah, it's like one of the only vehicles on dirt that I get a thrill, like that stomach feeling when you take off on the start line of Crandon and you're just like sucks you in. You're like, oh, here we go. And it's like, all right, do you let off or not? Your conscience is like, slow down. But you're like, no, I'm in it. And that's what turn one's all about, is like commitment. Obviously, your mindset. My dad's always done well here with hole shots. I've actually done pretty well here with hole shots. Like, hole shots a huge part of this here, and a lot of it's just commitment.
It's a mental game of chicken, dude. Like, I'm just
you're
watching.
You're looking over, you're glancing at that guy next to you as you're going down. And he's like, "You lifting or am I lifting? You lifting or am I lifting?" And,
well, it's the trust factor too.
Yeah.
Like, you got to really trust the drivers around you, especially turn one at Crandon, because you guys are all. There's a commitment, but it's like you have to have a lot of faith in the people around you, because it's
And here's like the biggest factor I see with Crandon. Like, normally when we race a short course race, you get that first pre-lap to go look around before they send you green. Well, Crandon, you rely solely on your spotter. Like, it's a huge part of the mental side of it is like, all right, turn one is wet on inside, you gradually to the outside. And so in my mind, I already have my first lap made up in my mind where I need to be, like off my dad. And so he's like looking at it and he's saying, hey, you need to be here, you need to be there.
Are you, because you said you were a visual person, and when you're thinking about that, are you seeing that in your head?
Yeah, I visualize. That's what, even sitting on the line, I visualize, results almost. Like, all right, this is where I want to be. And I see it in my head before I even do it. I listened to a guy talking about Navy SEALs and how do you prepare? You can't prepare yourself to be shot at or prepare for war. Well, all it is like mentally preparing yourself for that with repetitions. And if you can prepare your mind for it, then basically when you get there, you already seen it and you're there for it, because racing's reactionary. You're reacting, and it's hard to put yourself in situations to simulate that. I guess experience helps, but mental is, I think, over half by far.
Yeah,
I think the mental preparedness too. Like, I've seen so many people. Like, we've all seen the drivers where they come in and they're puking before a race, and they're like nervous and jittery and white knuckle and gripping the steering wheel. And it's like, and you have the guys that have mentally prepared themselves for what's to come. And they're calm, cool, collected, just in their own head. Like, and there's a difference in people. Like, you can go down the start line and there's some people that are just like out of their head like crazy. Then you have other people that are just like Zen mode.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, I get really calm, like on the line. I can almost take a nap. Like, I'm opposite of like, I could just relax. It's kind of like a calming moment. Obviously your nerves are there, but I think maybe that's why scenario. But now that you've done it enough, it's like when when the green flag flies, you don't feel any of that no more. Everything's out the window and you're gone.
All right, Chase, number 23, it's 2023, this championship's yours. Let's show these guys what's up.
Easy, boys, it's not over yet. Big dog still gotta eat.
Whatever you say, big dog.
Seriously? These fools think I'm fried? They know the deal.
Yeah, it's really interesting from a psychological perspective, because if you think about it, this is the only track like that, right? Like, everything else is rolling starts, right? So this one is the one that you're like, there is no like, all right, we're in the car, it's rolling, we're kind of grouped together, all right, ready, we're going to do a lap, like, there's a lot of like, that time gets stretched, and then you kind of roll everybody together. This one, it's like, bang. And I think, I remember seeing it for the first time, and it was shocking. It was very jarring. I was blown away that all these other motorsports that I've seen, from drag racing to NASCAR and, everything else that everybody's like, oh, you got to see this. Yeah. There's nothing like turn one here.
Yeah.
It doesn't even compare, right? It blows all that stuff away. And even with what we do, it's like, we don't have that. We're doing 2x2. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's not 25, 30 vehicles all, within inches of each other at 100 miles an hour off camber, and there's holes, right?
Yeah, you don't know. It's all
it's not
all
this
unknown.
Like, it's not like this really smooth, paved out thing. It's like, I laugh every time I'm watching F1 or whatever, and they're talking about the track changes. I'm like, please, yeah, I'll show you some track changes. There's 1.5 foot holes here that develop over the course of the race. But yeah, I think a lot of it is fear. It's like you have to master, the fear of putting yourself in that situation where, you're no longer in control. You're just doing your part, and you're relying, like Jimmy said, like on those guys next to you not to screw up, because if they screw up, it's dominoes.
Yeah, and we've seen it, right? Yeah. And the track, that's like a huge part of it is like not knowing. Like there's a big unknown of like going into turn one, where before we can pick spots and I can look at it myself, but really I'm relying on someone else in their hands. And so like in spring run, they watered the inside of it and left the outside dry. Well, I knew that. Well, I hopefully knew that. My dad told me that, and slid across the inside. And if that wasn't the case, if you didn't know that was there, you were into the wall. And so a lot of it's just trust and trust in your truck. And
there's very few sports too, and I've actually had this conversation with somebody, and they were flightophobic, and they're like, you fly all the time. How do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, the only thing I was like might be off road, but I'm like, when you fight MMA or you enter an off road race at the level Keegan's doing or the level we do in trophy truck and things like that, I'm like, you go in and you're prepared to not walk away. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't want to be morbid, but it's like you have that mental preparedness. There's a chance, an outside chance, I might be done. And it's like, so I was like, it's just this weird mental where you get this Zen mode because you have to put your mind in just another place. You know what I mean? And you don't think about it as a race car driver, but subconsciously you get into this. It's like I can't even explain the zone that you get into.
You're basically going to war, right?
Yeah, you're going to war.
And that's what, obviously we're doing a sport. It's a little bit different, but I feel like the mindset is almost the same. And to be able to go and do that and to like commit, like it's one thing to like go out there and just run around and have fun and hit some jumps and stuff like that. And there's people that want to do that, and that's cool. But I'm a competitor. Like I got a guy that always tells me, you're a competitor for a living. So I don't even let my kids win stuff. And I like that. Like I'm just like,
you should.
No, I'm just like, I'm the guy that's growing up, like
you don't want to play Mario Kart.
No, I don't even care what I'm playing.
Slay on Mario Kart.
And you can ask like Tito and those guys, and they get so mad at me because we'll just be playing a video game or something, and I don't care. I'm gonna win. Like I don't know. And so I'm the same way with my kids, and they know that. They understand. Like I'm hard on them for a reason. Like if you're a competitor, you're gonna be successful in whatever you do. Like there's not many competitors that, as long as you have that will to win and like compete, and whether it's a job, desk job, or we're all competing in this world for something,
Well, do you as you climbed up in off-road racing, do you think becoming a champion changed you?
Yeah, in reality, I wish I didn't have that. I told myself, actually last 2019 when I won the championship, the year after that, you hit a point like I dealt with like some adversity. Like I felt like I've made it, and I didn't know what else to chase for, and so I started doing some digging on it, why I felt that way. And like Michael Phelps had a good example. Is like, how do you keep going when you win? You basically won everything,
right?
It's cool to stay on top, but it's not the same as winning. I don't care what anybody says. It's not the same as winning your first time. And so I don't know. I think we're all chasing that gratitude, that like feeling of like all the work and time you've put in, it leads to this. And like you get that at Crandon. Like you've worked all year for something, and then you come here and this is it. Like we got to put it out on the line and take it. And so, yeah, even when you win, it's like, now what? We got to stay here. And I think that's where that mental toughness comes in. It's harder to stay there than when you really want something, you can go get it. You're going to put the little extra effort in. But when you're already there, those are the people that truly should be putting in the extra effort. And I think that's when we become complacent in ourselves and try to find that fire again. And so I've dealt with it. I've talked to Andy McMillan. Like I've had conversations with him because I've had that feeling like I got to a point where I felt like I was there already. Like now what? What do I do now? And Andy was good. Had great conversations with him. I've talked with Rob Mack about it, and because those guys have been racing forever. Obviously, my dad has perspective, but sometimes it's good to have it outside source and how you deal with it. And so, that was good. Like that kind of brought me back. Listening to a couple things talk about, like I said, Michael Phelps, and like this year, I told him I'm having fun. I've had a blast this year.
Yeah.
Like I've had a win in a couple of seconds, but like I have the fire again. Like I really enjoy it.
Well, and you can see it with your demeanor, like, hanging out with you. It's like you're smiling, you're having a good time, you're bringing people to the party, you're sharing it. You're not over in your pit all stressing out, yelling at people, and that happens, right? Like I've seen that with teams they're stressed or over their head or whatever the situation is. And it's funny because like earlier you were talking about using the analogy of MMA or going to war. And dude, I know some of the baddest dudes on the planet, and they are the funnest, most happy people to be around. Like I remember, you hang out with Anderson Silva. He's like a little kid.
Yeah.
He's like, let's play video games, and you're like, what? And I'm playing PlayStation games against Anderson Silva, and he's laughing and kicking my ass in some game, and I'm like, this is surreal, right? Yeah. But I think that's because your capabilities. You get to a comfort zone where you're like, hey, I'm comfortable with, who I am, what I am, where I'm at. I know what my team's capable of. I know I've built this truck from the ground up. I prepped this truck. I've touched everything. I know what it's going to do. Like you were talking about the track changes. That's the other thing is like, understanding dirt, right? Yeah. Understanding, watching the water trucks, right? Because there's not that guy doesn't have a plan. He's just laying water where he thinks it should
and we're
be
watching
laid.
him when he's on the line. We're like, oh, hey, no, you go that way a little more.
But all those things, when you're on point, it's like, I got it.
Yeah.
And then you can really enjoy it.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. I said, like I said in 2019 when I won the championship, that was like the most depressed I've been. I've been excited. Like I've broke and I've rolled and I've done all that, but you still have like that chasing. You're like, all right, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get it, and that's gonna be the scary part. And so, like when you made it, it's like, well, now what do I got to go for?
Right.
I want to repeat it, but not as bad as I wanted it. Now I got it. And so now I'm back to like having fun, enjoying it. Why did I like it in the first place? Well, we were having fun. When we got off the track, we were, talking with one another, joking, having a good time, going to hang out with different people. When, the year after that was rough. Like you said, you get to argue and you're searching and finding instead of just enjoying the moment and living in the moment and take what comes.
Well, it's like that saying that like the races are won in the shop, right? So it's all that hard work that you put in before the race. And if you do that and you're disciplined, then when you show up here, you're ready, right? So it doesn't have to be this painful, stressful thing. Same thing is true of desert racing, right? And as a promoter, I observe it. And it's kind of a weird thing. Like I can look around and be like, those guys aren't ready for this. They're not ready to be here today, right? Yeah. And they're not going to have a good time. And then the guys who are, I'm like, you can see it. They're calm. They're smiling. They're looking. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
We're going to go win, right? And even if we don't win,
we still having fun.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. So that's a really cool, approach.
Racing against your dad is something that 90% of the racers in the world will never get.
I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and now he's just like taking the reins. I want to be remembered for being a huge part of short course, not just racing, keeping it alive, helping it grow. If it comes down to the last weekend and I'm in it, the boys better watch out.
There's so much, too, that goes into this. I mean, one of the other questions that I had for you is, besides Crandon, is there a track that you absolutely loved?
Yeah, Bark River by far is probably like one of my top favorite tracks, especially to race on. And actually Prim. I enjoyed actually Prim, like 2014 Prim with rhythms. Like it was challenging. It was fun. They had the little split lane at that time in there. But Bark River by far, it has so much flow. Not even just the people. Yeah, they get a decent crowd there. It's more rural than this is. But yeah, it has elevation. It has a lot of flow. There's a lot of passes. I went from 10th to 1st in a half a lap. Like, you don't see that at a lot of these smaller tracks. It's a what has happened, in my opinion, is like when we went to time, it has shortened the time of gap. So there's become this like urgency already. There was already urgency in short course racing, but now it's like stepped it up. And so now if you're starting 10th, it's like, oh, I got to do something. Well, then it creates a little more carnage, a little more
thing I love
urgency.
about Crandon, though, is in Bark River is like you mentioned, you know, 2 of the oldest tracks, you know, but I like there's something about those, and even the Midwest tracks in general, even ERX to an extent, but definitely Bark River and Crandon, but they were built into the natural terrain.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the West Coast tracks, they were hand built to be a short course track.
Except
And
for
I'm like,
Chula Vista.
Yeah.
Except for Chula Vista. I mean,
I loved those.
Yeah, that one. I
Reno
mean,
was kind of different. It had some elevation changes and things like that. You know, but I'm like, a lot of times in short course, they just hand build tracks to be, you know what I mean, a track. And I'm like, there's something about tracks that are just woven into the natural terrain.
Well, I think it comes back to, like, again, this exchange of ideas and how important it is, right? Like, if you're designing a track and you haven't been back here, you shouldn't be designing a track, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with that. And then it's the capabilities of the vehicles, right? And you have to design tracks for showcasing those vehicles. And I remember going through this with the core days where, you know, the buggy guys were pissed off because there were these giant jumps and you know, so they would knock them down. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Nothing against the buggy guys.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have to check up
yeah.
because this track is for Pro 4s and Pro 2s to shine.
Yeah, and we haven't had that. And that's one thing, like, Kyle LeDuc's a big advocate for, too. But myself as well is, like, we've built so much technology into these trucks and capabilities that we're still running on tracks that have the same jumps from 20 years ago. Like, we have so much more potential and challenge. Like, we could challenge our drivers, myself. We can challenge tracks, make it more entertaining. I understand that we travel with a sportsman group, and we're really trying to help cater to them at the same time.
Yeah, of course. But they can check up.
Yeah, they can check up, and we're all drivers, right?
Yeah.
We all know what we're signing up for. We all know the risks we take, the chances. Like, we understand that. What it comes down to is, like, people that can't jump that jump, and there's some in the class that can. Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
it's
part
like
of the racing.
Supercross. You know, they don't tailor make one for the 250s versus the 450s.
No, they're like, sorry, you can't make the double.
Yeah, you know, you can double this or you can triple this. It's you know, you sack up and do it or don't. You know,
I think that's an important thing though too. Is like, you know, we started going down this path of like, hey, everybody gets a trophy, everybody wins. No, that's incorrect, right? The correct thing is this is hard, right? This is, like you said, this is a war simulation.
Yeah.
And the intensity of short course is unparalleled. You have, what, 25 minutes to get it done?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a 25-minute out, knockdown, drag-out brawl for every inch, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I love it, man. I'm so glad to be here. I haven't gone to a short course race all year, and I've also seen some of the best short course racing, so I'm a little bit spoiled, right? So when people are like, hey, are you going to go to this one? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know, but to your point, I think that's a really important thing going forward is for us to, you know, collectively build and invest in tracks that, you know, really showcase what these vehicles are capable of.
Yeah. Well, Pastrana's been doing a good job. Like,
you know what's funny is I texted him when he did with the gap jump, and I'm like, you got me. Right?
Yeah.
And because we've been friends for a long time, and I remember him asking me like, well, why aren't there gap jumps in what you guys are doing? And I'm like, 100% there should be in short course.
And that's what Robbie, for example, I think it was 2015 is when I first got the opportunity to race. Rob Mack was racing for Traxxas at the time, and Mike Jenkins. Well, it was St. Louis, Missouri, in that stadium, just a small little bull ring.
And the SST trucks.
The SST truck. So first corner, you come out and you got to clear the gap jump. And I've never driven this truck before. and they took it. He always volunteered Sheldon Creed at that time. He's like, Sheldon, get in there, jump it, or someone else. You know what I mean? Not me. I'm not jumping it first. And then so they jump it, and I'm like, holy man. First time I've ever driven this, now I got to hit a 50-foot gap. All right, here we go. So we get in it, we got to jump it.
Yeah.
But it's once you do it, it becomes so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, then it just becomes habit.
Yeah.
You know, it just clicks. And I had so much fun in that. Like, we weren't going very fast. I loved the stadium stuff. That was where they were meant to be.
Yeah.
I understand the expense side of it, but it was fun. I had a blast doing it. Road course stuff was so much. But, there's no reason that we couldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what separates. I think we have to take it to the next level.
It's part of it is entertainment. I mean, the value, you go back to the history of it and why short course was started. And it was started by Mickey, and his whole team to showcase desert racing. To get people to go, hey, you like this? Come to this desert race, right?
Yeah.
And, clearly it evolved beyond just solely a marketing tool. And again, it's like a tribute to the Midwest, the work ethic and the people from here that they kept it alive. They kept it going during SOTA and continued to evolve it when it was not happening on the West Coast. And, fortunately it got revived, on the West Coast.
Yeah, and even when, like I've been through a couple series, but it's funny how heritage, like the tracks, like Bark River and Crandon, I think we could be in the toughest times and we'd all figure out how to go racing.
Sure.
It's just crazy to me, like through it, we'll spend our own money to invest in it now that we're hooked. And I've been there, and I've got to the point now a little bit of backed off a little bit of that. But, it's like we're going to be racing whether or not. Whatever, we could be racing good old boys out here if we had to. But, it's a crazy, I think obviously we got Crandon's Land Rush. It's iconic for that. Obviously we could build bigger jumps out here. We could be jumping some massive jumps, but I think for the future to grow, like for off-road, and hopefully, I know there's things in the works where we go pro. I think we should do, hopefully we do that. We expand, we go bigger, we go better. We can shoot gap jumps. We can go over-unders. I loved when Wheatland came out with an over-under, obviously it cost money. They invested, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I wasn't fortunate enough to race on it yet. I've been there. I watched it. But
it's an amazing track.
Yeah, and the facility, they did a good job. And I like the thought of doing multiple events, like teaming up with people, whether it's like doing a circle track race or we're going to go do Ultra 4 like this. We have Ultra 4s here, or now we team up. Let's do a desert race with some short course race. Like, I think that's what it's coming to, in my opinion, and I like those events.
Yeah.
I think, we're racing in front of fans that are already established and having fun, and they would love it, and I think, like, you go back to the entertainment side of it,
sure.
like that's what I think of. That's what drew me to watch this was the entertainment side of it, and not just the racing on the side of it. There's, when you look out in Crandon, if you were here, the campsites that are going on
spectacle.
with Jurassic Park, and when I was a kid, like I said, the water balloon launch and the guy doing wheelies in the pond, and you hit that, and it's all about that. I don't remember who won that race.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody remembers. Like, I have a hard time remember who won last year, here. But what those people remember is, like,
Crandon.
how they felt.
Yeah.
How it made them feel. And so.
Very much so. I mean, we realized that with the Mint that, Crandon's Crandon, right? And, like, whoever's racing, almost doesn't matter. It helps, right? But, like, to your point, it's like, it's a pilgrimage every year that people all over the Midwest are like, we're going to Crandon. I mean, you see the numbers, and we're sitting here, and there's like a 2-hour backed up highway. Yeah. People pouring in here, and it's still Thursday, right? Yeah. Tomorrow, when everybody gets off of work, it's going to be
it's going to be
crazy, right? We're going to need helicopters to get in here. But it's I agree with you on the event side of, like, mixing those disciplines, adding concerts, whatever we got to do to get people, because once they see this, we got them.
Yeah, and
I mean?
Robbie always said short course is like the biggest kept secret in all of off-road. Like,
totally.
And I truly, like, everybody that's came here, I haven't heard one person say, that wasn't that cool.
No.
I'd rather go watch NASCAR, or I'd rather go watch this. Like, and so I think everybody has different ideas, right? And I think we're going, and I'm excited about the future of short course, and I think teaming up with different events that, Robbie's actually done a good job. I give him credit of going to IndyCar, because those have always been IndyCar fans, and when they're jumping just over those ramp jumps, they think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Every time Robbie does an event, I get phone calls.
Yeah.
For the first question is, where can I buy one of those trucks? And I'm like, well, you can't, but we'll sell you another one.
Yeah.
And you can come do that in the desert. So, no, I think Robbie's like, I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day, is like, you know, like while they were expanding Christianity into America, it's like you would have the priest who was like on message, and then you'd have the crazy one who you're like, we're going to send you into that area where there's like, you know, cannibals and stuff, and you're going to have to convert those people. That's what Robbie is, right?
Yeah.
So he's out there, you know, doing it not just for himself, but I feel like for all of us and expanding it.
It's helping off-road.
Yeah,
because
I
like
agree.
it's almost like you're cutting that line because now he's into the asphalt side of it with IndyCar fans that have been true fans or NASCAR.
Going to Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
Right?
And I was grateful to do that. That was amazing. And so I think things are, that's what I said. I think that.
Well, he's an amazing ambassador for the sport. You know, whether you 100% agree with him or disagree with him, he has brought so many, even through his NASCAR career, so many people to the sport. I mean, Jimmy Johnson has been another one, you know, just knowing that his legacy in off-road, and he's never shied away from it.
Yeah.
Jimmy will always be up front, like, off-road, that's where I got my start. You know?
Look at the success that just off-road racers in general.
Mears,
are
Rick
coming
Mears,
race.
you know, you look at...
even what Sheldon's doing now and all those guys, like, they all have a dirt background.
Riley Herbst, too. Like, he's killing it.
Yeah.
And Zane Smith, you know, like there's a whole bunch of them. But you know, the one thing I really appreciate about what Robbie does is exactly that, is expanding, you know, off-road. And you know, he's been through it. He raced Mickey Thompson. He raced, you know, cup racing. He did everything, right? So he really understands the value of that. I also really appreciate that instead of just putting, you know, random guys who can pay for their ride, he's reaching back to guys like you and saying, all right, you know, I want to put you in, and, you know, if you could bring your sponsors, great. You know, the Sheldon Creeds, you know, there's a lot of kids that he's given a leg up to. So
and he has like a wide variety of people that are racing him, which is cool, like from all different areas of.
So the one thing that was funny, and this is like never gets advertised, you talk to Sheldon privately, and he goes, I would not be where I'm at without Robbie Gordon. And it wasn't necessarily Robbie writing checks, but it was like General Tire had me come back to an ARCA race at Charlotte one time, and Sheldon was racing. So I'm in there, and, you know, it's my off-road people, so I'm going to go hang out there. So all of a sudden, literally about 5 minutes before the ARCA race, rolls in Robbie. Robbie gave me a big hug. Hey, how's it going? He goes, I'm going to sit on the pit box for Sheldon tonight. And Robbie sat on the top of the pit box, called an entire race, and then gave Sheldon a high five at the end of the race. Sheldon ran like a top 3 all day and then left. And I was like, nobody sees that side. Robbie left what he was doing, came to an ARCA race, called the entire race for Sheldon, and then left.
Well, I got to see it. He's a hard worker.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know, Robbie doesn't advertise that. Hey, look at me on the pit box. That's
he's
not
the guy
Robbie.
underneath that truck working on it.
Coming
off the track, he'll be underneath there. He won't even be buckled up. We'll be on the start line, and he's working on a truck. And we're like, are you going to get in, Robbie? He's got his tennis shoes on. And
Robbie's one of the few guys that knows where the key is to our race shop. And he'll text me going to the race shop when he's in Parker, and we trust Robbie completely. The TIG welder will be out. He'll be back on the lathe. The tubing bender will be out. And Robbie just literally, he guy's a master fabricator. He doesn't get credit for what he can actually fab, but Robbie's got the keys to our race shop. And when he calls and says he needs something, Dad just goes, "Yeah, show up, Robbie. Do whatever you want." You know?
My favorite saying from Robbie was one of the arguments we got into, and this was, I think, 24 hours before the Baja 1000, which Andy ended up winning with him, right? And the truck is in pieces, and I'm freaking out on him. And he looks at me, he goes, "We got a week." And I said, "Robbie, the race starts in 2 days." And he goes, "Yeah, there's a week in 2 days, and you can still sleep 8 hours. And I was like, "What?" And he was right.
Yeah.
You know, 24 hours, combine that together, you got 48 hours to get some. That's a work week for me. You know, and so that's how crazy his mindset is like he's just bending time.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, going back to the IndyCar thing, it's like when people see him, like, in my opinion, I don't think he's doing anything cool because we've raced short course, right?
Yeah.
We've jumped dirt. We've done all that. But those people have never seen that. Well, what they do is sit there and go Google, well, what else is out there that's short course?
Yeah,
Right?
you go to Long Beach Grand Prix, here's a bunch of yuppies.
Yeah.
Literally, Long Beach is full of yuppies. People, you know, you got the guys in their white pants and shit like that, you know, and it's like you have a bunch of yuppies at Long Beach, and literally you've got, you know, some of the greatest race cars in the world, the IMSA cars and, you know, the prototypes, and you've got Indy cars, and here come Robbie's, you know, short course. Everybody leaves the Long Beach Grand Prix. It's not who won the IMSA race. It's not who won the IndyCar race. It's like, dude, did you see those off-road trucks jump? They were like higher than the catch fence.
Well, that's a good example. I was at Brainerd, you know, last weekend before this, and it was the same thing. Race truck. Well, who's coming over? All the pit crew for all these guys.
Right.
They're coming to check it out and hanging out by it and asking questions. They're like, oh, now this is something. Well, I'm like, well, that's cool. Yeah, you got 12,000 horse. Like, that's awesome. They're like, nah, we like that. That's cool.
Like when I had Antron Brown and Steve Torrance come do the Mint, they left. Here's guys that go 330 miles an hour for a living. And all they could talk about was racing a UTV again. When do I get to go and race the UTV again? I'm like,
we had a similar experience. We were shooting 24 hours of Daytona for General Tire, and we're interviewing all the racers. And, you know, these are all the guys who are going to win it, right? And, you know, there's a whole process with you know, because it was purchased by NASCAR of how you get, you know, the driver for the interview. You got to handle you got to talk to the handler, and it has to be a schedule. It's this whole thing, right?
Not like us going down to the road.
No,
Hey, you can come to an interview.
Yeah. So I'm getting, you know, all the top guys, and it was hilarious because their handlers are like, okay, you have 5 minutes with them, right? And so I have my questions, and then every single one of them are like, are you guys the off-road guys? What's Baja like?
Yeah.
Like, that's all they wanted.
Yeah,
they
that's all
didn't
they care.
care
Yeah,
about what they were
else,
doing.
yeah.
They were like, hey, do you know somebody? Can I rent a truck? And the one that got me the most was that year, the lead singer of AC/DC was racing in not an unlimited car, but one of the bigger cars, right? And that's all he wanted to talk about. He's like, oh man, it's on my list. I want to race the trophy truck in Baja. And you know, I'm like, well, this is really cool what you're doing. And he's like, well, tell me about what that's like.
Yeah.
And his handler
never
is
touched anything. Yeah,
It's wild. Same
his
thing.
handler's getting all pissed.
Indy
you know?
500 is the same way. Like, people who know me and I go and do interviews, you know, at the Indy 500, all the IndyCar drivers, that's all they want to talk about is Baja, you know, or you know, off-road. Like, hey, you race off-road trucks, or hey, I got a UTV, you know, what long travel should I get, or this or that. And it's like, so I'm there, and I had a buddy that had me go on top of the pagoda up where the spotter stand, and the only thing that's up there is spotters and snipers. And literally, it's actually pretty rad. The snipers that are in Indy. That's a whole nother podcast, but it's really cool to see what's going on there. But it's like, so I'm up there, and I'm not supposed to be up there. I got invited by one of the spotters, and so the one guy comes, hey, this is my buddy Jim. He's up here, and everyone's like, ah, cool. So up walks Rick Mears. And Rick Mears comes up, and he's spotting for Penske. And my buddy, you know, who works for Ganassi, he goes, hey, Rick. He goes, this is my friend Jim Beaver. And he looks at me, he goes, Beaver? I go, yeah. And he goes, in relation to Dan? I go, yeah, that's my dad. And he goes, oh, man, I used to buy a car from your grandpa back in the day, and I remember off-road cars. So I literally spent an hour on top of the spotter stand at the Indy 500 talking with Rick Mears about all he wanted to talk about was off-road stuff. And I'm like, dude, when off-road gets its hooks in you, it doesn't matter what aspect of off-road, its hooks are in you, and it's for life.
It's funny. Like, you know, you think the off-road community is big, but in reality, it's not that big. Like, we were even in Australia, and we started talking, and you know, we started talking to a guy, and here he knew us. Like, we knew we were all the way across. Oh yeah, I watched that stuff before, and we talked there. Well, then same like you said, you'll be talking, and you'll know a guy, recognize him. Oh yeah, I know who he is.
Right.
And we get talking on a subject. Oh yeah, you're Jeff Kincaid's son. All right, yeah, I remember this. I'll tell you a story. And, it's all crazy how united everybody is in it, and like connected. And so that's what I always said is like, man, I don't want to burn anybody's bridge because I might run into that guy again here down the line.
And if you don't run into him, you know there's somebody that knows him.
And he's going to say, oh, I knew that guy from here. Yeah, you don't want to deal with him.
Yeah.
And somehow Robbie's done a good job at that of doing that. I just laugh at all the speed stuff, but it cracks me up. He's done an amazing job.
Everybody knows Robbie.
Yeah.
You know, one of my fun things, though, too, is like all my NASCAR friends, they're like, yeah, who's your favorite driver? And Robbie Gordon. They go, What?
Yeah.
How is he
Yeah.
your favorite driver? And I'm like, well, he's our guy from off road. That represents the off road culture, and when he was cup racing. So now we need a new guy, right?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
I might be off topic, but we were talking about interviews, and the Impulse guys got a good guy or a good idea. They did a little bit of it of like these interviews with people before the weekend.
Sure.
So you'd get a board together and have people ask questions, whether it's from the series or just regular people that want to come in, like advertise, and require them to be up there. Could you imagine the conversations like with Jimmy Henderson and CJ and just getting answers from them and content? Like I was just thinking content for free. Like
Sure.
That's fun, like entertaining. And I give credit to Torque on that side of it. I think they did a really good job of like the behind the scenes. I love that. Well, my wife did. My wife don't care to watch a race that much, but she loved watching that. The Ricky and Johnny, I think that's something that is memorable forever now.
Absolutely.
Like the Johnny and Ricky fights and the
Well, and it's all about storytelling, and that's what I've said. Off-road's fought for years, whether it be desert, short course, whatever. It's like, and Mad Media and these guys have done a phenomenal job, and that's what I've tried to do with my show and everything else. Like, everybody's got a story. You've got to create attachment to drivers, and obviously you've got attachment here. The fans know you; they know your story. But how do we get Keegan's story so the people in the Southwest hear it and go, "He's my guy. I like Keegan Kincaid."
Yeah.
It's like,
someone to cheer for.
Just watching a truck go around on TV, if you don't know the backstory, there's no attachment.
No.
Well, it's super important to promote the people, right?
Yeah.
As a character set, and not just, hey, it's a number, it's a vehicle, etc. Right? Because people relate to people, and like that's one of the things that I like about you is like I want to hang out with you. You know what I mean? Like I had a blast last night. Literally,
yeah.
But it's like you're like a guy I would be like, hey, I'm going to call up Keegan. We're going to go have beers and and hang out. So I think that that's an important thing that needs to be connected through your content, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you hooked up with the Impulse guys.
Yeah, and one thing that I've changed. I've always been like, I'd like to keep my life private, but I've been opening up a lot more. I'm on the side of like, hey, I want to show people. I've come to the point I want to show them the reality. Yeah. Like, all right, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows, and it's kind of like a future generation thing. I'm like, I don't want my kids to think that, because normally what I always thought it was like, all right, everybody only posts the positives.
Sure.
Like they don't understand the struggles, and everybody's going to go through struggles, and with all the suicides and all this going on, I want to show people reality. Like it's not always good. And it's not going to always be good.
I think there's a way to protect, and I've tried to be very conscious of this, like with my personal life. But I feel like there's a way to show bits of it. You don't want to take them in the bedroom, but it's okay to show them, sometimes the living room. Things like that, where I'm like, you don't need to go full reality show, but I think there is a way to give glimpses into your personal life where people do get a little bit more connection.
And that's why I started doing a little, not vlog, but with reels, just hanging out in the pits with having Tito help me out with that, and whether it's with my kids. And now I think about it, it didn't start out as this, but I'm like, man, these are going to be awesome memories to look back on. And just say, oh, remember that time in the pit? Here, I got that video of that. And capturing the moment.
I mean, you can see it in sports in general where they've now realized how valuable that is. So, like, the NFL, the NBA, everybody's doing it now. And unfortunately, most of them suck. Yeah. They're just boring, but there's some of them that are really good. Like the whole, series that they just did, The Last Dance. Like that was badass. That was like that reminded me how much I love that era of basketball.
And if you weren't and you watched it, you're like, holy man, this is where it all came from. Like this is it. Yeah, this is awesome.
So I think that it was Jason Markham was involved with Torque. Okay. He works with us and he's very passionate about short course racing and off-road racing. So he knew he was like paying attention. And I remember like I wasn't working for them at all, but I remember talking about stories and going hey, you need to go look at this guy and show what this guy's doing because it's interesting. So and that's the beauty of it is like there's a character here for everybody. There's a story here that everybody
can relate to.
Exactly, that everybody can relate to.
And I think that's what people are searching for in general, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but to your point, but to your point, I think it's very important that you show the warts, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like what was the Show Me the Money movie? Where Tom Cruise was the agent.
Yeah. Why am I losing?
But it was that
Jerry
Maguire, right? It was that moment where he was telling the football player, like, stop being a robot. You know what I mean? And let people in, let people love you, right?
Yeah.
And they want to see you cry. They want to see you be emotional. Like, that's one of the things I'm really proud of, with this culture as well, is like, whether it's here or the Mint, it's like there's been a lot of tears, right? Because it means so much when you get it done. That you're just like, it's like an emotional dump. You're like, oh man, I've arrived, or I've done it,
Yeah, and I always said, like, anybody that's a true fan wants to watch it live anyways.
Yeah.
So they want to know the results. Like, there ain't many people that are sitting there 2 weeks after and say, I want to watch this race and see who won. They already know who won, you know? And that's my opinion as a fan behind it. Like, I want to see the story about, like, how he got there.
Sure.
All right, I know he won, but what did he do to get to there?
Yeah.
And that's what I can watch with my family sitting in the living room or watch on my phone is like, and that's what I said. I'm just as much of a fan of this sport as I'm a racer. Yeah. And I try to explain that, and that's what one of my things. Like, I always said, I'll never do it. I'll never deny like a kid a autograph. Like,
right.
I would give up all my stuff. My trophies don't mean as much to me as it does to someone else. Like, that's my opinion behind it. And I agree with CJ. CJ does a great job of, like, giving kids trophies, and like that changed that kid's life. They'll always remember the no. Yeah. Like, that kid that comes up to your pit and you tell him, hey, I'm too busy for you, you just lost a fan.
Yeah.
And you lost someone.
Like, that's one of the things I also like about, off-road is, like, this is not Formula One. Yeah. That the racers are not too good to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, it's all approachable, and, like, I have so many memories of, guys coming off the track, pulling their hoods off, chopping them up into pieces, signing them, in the rain, etc. And, building fans, because we were all once that kid too. Yeah. I can tell you all sorts of stories about going off-road races and being like, starstruck by Ivan Stewart, and I just did a podcast with him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's important. I think that effort's really
my kids go around and collect all the posters. Well, that was me when I was a kid. Like, it wasn't your dad's poster. Well, they come and ask you for the autograph, but it's like, Dad, look at this Mickey Thomas sticker I got on my hat now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that. That's fun. Like, they're experiencing it. Like, they get to go around. They want to go collect a pile of, I might throw them away at the end, but they want to collect a pile of posters, and my oldest son wants to bring home. I'm not bringing home that fiberglass, but I still let him. He's like, can you throw this in the trailer for me? It's a panel from some other competitor, but that was me, when I was a kid.
Hey, just be glad it's not drifting, because you go to a drift event and the kids take away the spent tires.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. Like, no, it's crazy. They lined up like.
I imagine some mom someplace and their 4 kids show up with 4 tires and they're like, what are we going to do with these? You know?
I feel bad for some kids that come out of here with a full heavy hood and they're like, where are you going to put it? Well, I got a Prius. Now I'm going to throw it on top of on the way home. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be funny.
It's funny story is I had a kid down the street who is a huge Travis Pastrana fan, and I've had Travis's hood from one of his mini crashes in a rally car in our office, and we were just moving things around and needed to make some space, and I called him up and I said, hey, do you want that? And he's like, dude, you're kidding me, right? And it's in his living room, right? Like, you walk in, the super nice place in California, and then you're like, there it is, right?
Sitting right there.
Yeah, it's badass.
Well, and all those people have a story behind it, and I think that's what it is. It like links that story. So when someone comes to their house, it's like, oh, hey, I got something to show you. Check this out. I was at Crandon in '99, and I got this hood off of. So that's cool. Like, you want to relate. Well, we all want to do that.
I have a fender from Jimmy Johnson's last truck.
Yeah.
Right. It's actually in my garage. Yeah. Right. And every now and then somebody goes, what is that? Yeah. And I tell them the story, and they're like, oh, that's cool.
It just brings you back to some good memories. It's fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, I know you got a few things to do. Thank you for doing this.
No,
appreciate it.
We probably could have talked for another hour.
I keep going.
Yeah. No, it was good. I had fun. I'd like to do it again. Hopefully, somewhere else would be fun.
Yeah. And we're dragging him to Parker this year.
Yeah, done.
I told him, I was like, I'll even give him a bed at my house if we have to. Like, Keegan's coming to Parker. So
awesome.
Yeah, we'll be there. I'm hooked on some desert racing now. I'd like to go back. especially it was fun. Like I've been to Mexico, but not like that.
Yeah.
So that was an experience in itself, and I've got to travel. I've been fortunate. Like I look back now, even in this 10 short years, like I've traveled a lot of places to go racing, which has been awesome. And I'm great. Gratitude is like one of the biggest things that keep you humble. I think is grateful for the opportunity to go do that. Like traveling to Australia 4 to 5 times, and now going to Mexico. Like those are all stories that. You know how many people don't get to experience that?
100%.
And so hopefully I can give them a little live through it is my goal. Like, hey.
I tell people, I'm like, dude, same thing. It's like I've been to so many places because of this sport. And I'm like, I might not be rich financially, but I'm rich in the stories that I've got. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And that's all that
can't take the money to the grave, but the stories we can.
Yeah. And that's what will carry on for a long time. You know what I mean? Like those stories pass and pass and pass. And so hopefully my kids tell stories about my dad, And so, thanks for having me on. I had fun.
All right, good luck this weekend.
Hopefully it's a good weekend. Well, it'll be a good weekend no matter what happens. So weather's beautiful in Crandon, not raining. So thank you.
Thank you.